For plebs, by plebs, dropping the Bitcoin-only signal. Pleb Underground. Welcome everyone to the Pleb Underground.
Welcome back to Pleb Underground. This is episode 40. Bitcoin pleb energy is the glue, retorting facts and no hue. Shitcoiners have no humor, only cancerous growth like a tumor. Go ham with your stacks, TO scam with the stacks. Blow mo bubble, trees, flower and wax. Flow no trouble, memes shower from stacks. Power transformation, no need to restrict. From Atlantic City to the Columbia District. Brothers, I'm still young. Highway to hell still unsung. I'm back in black. A little tension, not quite slack. A little loose. Hot night hack. She wants to lose, not fight back. Knees on the floor and when she's on all four again. What will you do until you're interred? Spread your seed or spread your word. Ain't no second best nor even a third. Arguing against what you think's been inferred. Straw man scaring crows, raw man flaring flows. Lawless farms, their sharing grows. Flawless garms, we're wearing those. Now visibly better, but it's not called C. It's called core lightning, it's not called C. Names are important, lightning's not just from labs. Keep educating yourself in this market that crabs. Course not 850, made learn quite swiftly, constructed by NiftyNei, so not shifty, swift with the shift key, not adrift with a grift C, excel with this grace, react and displace, gang like the bass, 58 space, K she hit the ace, full house in this place. Ace, queen, and king, quite a nice ring. Out comes the jack, 10-10 on her back. A quick game of poker, she's wearing a choker. He's swearing he'll choke her, both lit like a smoker. Bitcoin number go up, but it's brownie in motion. Seems random at first, but brewed like a potion. Dynamic equilibria, some call them markets. Plan for inheritance, hodled through caskets. Perspiration is the game, hiking humidity chads. Here for the work, not the fame, like the inventor of liquidity ads.
Walton, that was... again, absolutely amazing. That's right, guys. We are back, Pleb Underground, and joining us today, in case you didn't get it from that awesome rhyme, we've got NiftyNei, who is a fellow Bitcoiner and protocol person. NiftyNei, thank you so much for joining us.
Also known as a blockstream lizard.
Ooh, blockstream lizard.
I'm on sabbatical, though. They made me leave the lizard costume behind when I left.
It's okay. At least you don't have a wizard costume on.
Yeah, in cold storage, yeah. Oh, that's true.
What's worse, lizards or wizards?
I don't know. Is this like an ask the audience? Can I phone a friend? I get mad about the wizard things. I like to think I'm kind of like a tech wizard, and then they're like, we're like, I don't know, whatever kind of wizard they are. LARPs, wizard LARPs. It's hard to compete with the LARPs, though. I just like.
Look, they have fantastic marketing. Like that's the thing, right? When you're dealing in vaporware, you get lots of money for marketing. That's right.
Dude, that's not all it is. That's what the whole like ordinal NFT like ecosystem is. It's like marketing Olympics. Like, you go prove how good you are at marketing stuff. I don't know how off topic we are now, but yeah.
Oh no, we're always on topic. We are always on topic. It's no, absolutely. Absolutely. But you know what, to your point, right? Before we dive into the numbers, I saw there was a tweet from Dan Held that was retweeted from Not Grubles, and he was getting upset. He was getting upset that we were calling the NFT not the NFT the ordinal and inscription supporters grifters, and and of course, right, the comment was, I'll put up the tweet, but essentially saying that we claim, Bitcoin Puritans claim that Bitcoin is permissionless. But at the same time, we're crying about the ordinals, and I think that those kind of takes are slightly disingenuous, because the reality is that that's absolutely correct. It is a free market. It is permissionless. So that means I have the right to dump on it and call it bullshit for what it is, the same way that he has the right to market this crap and pretend that it's something special. So yeah, they're grifters. Anyways, all right, we are moving on over to the numbers.
Yeah, the numbers, never brought to you by Dan Held, always brought to you by Time Chain Stats and Time Chain Calendar.
At the time of this recording, the block height is 792,588. The Bitcoin price, or Bitcoin fiat exchange, or fiat Bitcoin exchange, 27,175. Total public lightning capacity, 5,321.7. Moscow time, 3680. And the chain rewrite days, 705. I mean, I guess I'm happy that we're above 25K for the exchange rate. That's pretty much it.
That just means you're getting lazy, Phil, if you want the number to go up.
Yeah, apparently, right? Apparently, if you want number to go up, you're a terrible person. What are we supposed to do about that?
Hey, not everyone's planned eater.
No, not everyone's planned eater. Okay, let's take a look. I've got some interesting numbers here that I think people aren't paying attention to in the current market. All right, this is a tweet from Bam the Mexican. Definitely follow him. He does a weekly. He also does a weekly newsletter. Absolutely awesome.
Look, Bam.
That's right. Bitcoin only. Go Bam. All right, so damn, 68.5% of the Bitcoin supply hasn't moved in over a year. A new all-time high. My favorite metric combined with hash rate, which has almost doubled since the first time Bitcoin reached 60K. Although these don't predict the price, they, number one, the education, belief, and determination of the current holders that Bitcoin is a safe store of value and will potentially be worth much more. And two, strong adoption trend. As machines become more efficient and more machines get plugged, despite price not being at an all-time high. I gotta say that right now, considering we're in a quote-unquote bear market, I have to put the quotations around it because I don't really consider this a bear market. I think it's very
Crab.
Huh?
Crab market.
Crab markets. I like that. Ooh, crab market. Okay, no, wait. Explain crab markets, Walton.
It's going sideways.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. NiftyNei, were you knowledgeable of the crab market analogy? I never heard that one before.
No, it's a new one for me, Phil.
It's a new one for you. So, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on Bam's tweet? Does that make you bullish? What do you think? Do you think does it signify the like we'll say adoption or conviction, right? Conviction of the hodlers?
Oh, huge conviction signal in my mind. The thing that I see when I see something like that, I always get worried. Is this sound terrible? I like think about things from Lightning liquidity perspective, and I'm like, all right, well, if the coins aren't moving, that means it's like not moving into Lightning. So I mean, there's like a lot of things that could mean. It means people aren't moving it onto. It also means they're not moving it off of exchanges, right? Like we don't know who's not moving coins, right? So maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing. I feel like.
Oh, wait, that brings up the debate. I want to ask you this: like, what are your thoughts? Is it spenders or is it the hodlers? Like, I've seen people demonize hodlers, right? I've seen that narrative come about, and then I've also seen hodlers, right, demonize people who choose to spend Bitcoin. Are you in a camp? Are you in one of those camps?
I think can I be in both camps at the same time? I mean, I hold my Bitcoin, but I also spend Bitcoin. I'm a really big fan of like spend and replace. I guess that's the thing. Like, you just like buy the Bitcoin. So if I'm gonna like spend money, I guess is the way of thinking about it. Like it's like I'd prefer to like spend the money to buy Bitcoin and then send the Bitcoin to someone than I don't know, send them fiat. When it's an option. But yeah. I mean, I also like run base 58 using Bitcoin. So I like send people Bitcoin over there sometimes, you're paying out stuff.
All right, we're gonna save the base 58 stuff for when we put you in the hot seat for the interview portion. So
great. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Cool. That's where we ask you the really tough questions about you. So
okay, cool. Yeah.
No pressure. No pressure. Walton, any thoughts on the on Bam's tweet? I know we're friends with Bam, so of course we're biased. We're biased to his numbers.
Don't know. I try not to look at stats for Hopium anymore. I think it's easy to get pulled into that sort of thing. I mean, the fact that a certain number of percentage of coins haven't, or certain, is it a percentage of the UTXOs or percentage of the value of UTXOs? Because that'd be interesting which one's which, if that makes sense. As in, like,
it's 68.5% of the Bitcoin supply that hasn't moved in over a year.
So they mean the percentage of total Bitcoin.
Yeah, exactly.
Not necessarily number of UTXOs. Yeah. Okay. Given things like Lightning, the Bitcoin won't necessarily move on chain, but could still be being used for a whole bunch of transactions. So you could have, if there's Bitcoin locked up in Lightning channels, that's not going to be moving on chain until the channel gets closed, right? Because it's just a
we
it's
are.
a 2 of 2
I mean,
multisig.
we also do show the the public lightning capacity, right? So that's been, I mean, that's like 5,300 plus BTC. So that's pretty steady. But to your point, right?
Yeah, but
like,
the volume of transactions can be going up without the amount of liquidity going up.
Exactly. So that I think that metric is maybe something that we should start showing during the numbers, right?
There's not much you can show. You don't know how many kind of total lightning transactions are taking place. And I think it's unknowable. Lisa, is that correct?
That's true.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Ah, damn. So there's privacy there, huh?
It's like by design. Yeah. Like secret by design, I guess. I don't know.
Oh gosh, no, that's great, because that's obviously a fudding point, right? That's like that's like a big fudding point that people try to use, right? When they don't understand lightning, or they don't understand the ecosystem. Not that I understand it entirely, I don't, but like that was something that, that is a metric that would be nice to know, but it's unknowable, so we can't even use it. All right, that wraps up the numbers, and we are moving on over to our guest discussion. The guest discussion is brought to you by CypherSafe. Check them out, CypherSafe.io. Look, everybody has to store their seed. Paper is just not going to cut it. Check out CypherSafe.io. They've got awesome products such as the Cypher Grid, and it comes with an awesome little punch tool. Check them out at CypherSafe.io. CypherSafe also makes absolutely fantastic physical Bitcoin art, such as the Bitcoin Rolo Triangle. It's made of 100% titanium, and it's got absolutely beautiful detail to it. Check it out. 4 by 4 by 4 inches, and it weighs 16 ounces. Anyways, the Bitcoin Rolo Triangle by CypherSafe. Check them out at CypherSafe.io. All right, so as you know, we've got NiftyNei joining us on our guest discussion. She is our official PlebUnderground guest for the episode. NiftyNei, before we started recording, I see that you do a whole bunch of stuff. You know what? What do you do? Tell us maybe a little bit about yourself.
So confrontational, Phil.
Yeah, I know, I am, right? I told her she's going to be in the hot seat. So.
Yeah, straight out of the bat there with the thing. Yeah, so for the past like 5 years, I've been working on the Lightning specs at Blockstream as like a developer, like the protocol dev. Really kind of working specifically around like how do we get more liquidity deployed to Lightning? How do you track where your like money is going when it's in Lightning on like the core Lightning project? And then in like January of this year, I've kind of gone on sabbatical, turned in my lizard suit, at least for the next 10 months, to work on some, I guess, like passion projects in the Bitcoin space. One of those is called Base 58, which is my protocol school. So teach people about the Bitcoin protocol. Our flagship class was on Bitcoin transactions, which I realized like after the fact is like, not the sexiest thing to be selling, but I think it's really important basic information that anyone who like works on or with Bitcoin should really know. So that's like our flagship class, and I'm working, hopefully now that I'm on sabbatical, I'll have time to get out like a Lightning class and a Taproot class. I also run a conference series. It's like a dev conference, so technical Bitcoiners, called Bitcoin Plus Plus. We did 3 of them in the last 12 months. We did 2 in Austin, 1 in Mexico City. I'm currently working on the next one this fall that's going to be in Berlin. So I don't know, keep it busy, I guess.
So your Base 58 stuff, which sounds very interesting to me. A follow-up question to that. Essentially, like, who is your target audience? Like, is it like the noob, or sorry? Go ahead.
Oh, this is a great question, because like I get this question all the time. I think the truth about the Base 58 class is you need to be a developer. Like I've had like a bunch of VCs come through. I had some guys from 1031 come through the class. I had Brad Mills come through. Brad Mills has amazing questions, but I think like to really get and understand. It's like, how big of like, how much do you want to come away with the class from, you know? If you've been a developer and you've been working on code for like a year or two, like you don't have to have like a lot of experience, so you probably should know some basic code stuff. It's a perfect class for you. You'll have a great time. You probably have, I mean, it's hard. It's a hard class. Like
it might be fair to say that there's a bit of there's a gap between developers and Brad Mills. Like there's Brad Mills essentially is famous for being a Bitcoin OG who's been literally every single shitcoiner's exit liquidity, and he's still, you know, worth millions of dollars, right? He's I don't know. I kind of like the guy, but it's kind of embarrassing how stupid he is at times. And
we don't think that way.
Do you think someone who's maybe not a programmer but is you know, isn't mathematically challenged like Brad, do you think they might be able to participate in your course well?
Yeah, I think like, so the thing about base 58, the thing that you really need to know, and even people who are devs don't know this stuff, is like how bytes work. Like what is a byte? What is binary encoding? Like that sort of thing. And it's like, it's not math. It's, well, there's math in there. I mean, it's just like, you know, what's funny? It's
bits
like,
in a byte.
yeah, exactly. Like, what does a hexadecimal look like? What is hex? How does hex get from being a hex to whatever? I have like an hour and a half like YouTube video where I like attempt to explain it.
Isn't computer science just a bunch of linear algebra anyway?
You know, I've never done in linear algebra, so I would not know. I'm not like, I don't know. It's like, I'm okay at math. I'm not great at it. I can do some math.
It's interesting. So I mean, like I suck at math. But give me basic math and I'm good with it. I just like, for some odd reason, I've just always been terrible at math, and that's okay. But you know what? That's how I know, in my eyes, that's how I know that Bitcoin is legitimate, because its math is so simple that even I get it. And I'm like,
you can count to 21 million.
Wait, it's like math flows through my veins, and that's why Bitcoin works.
See, so for him, it's the complete opposite. Him, it's like everything is math, and that's why Bitcoin works. And me, it's like, meh, I get the basic math, Bitcoin works. You know, so left and right side.
That makes sense. Yeah,
Maybe
I mean,
NiftyNei's in the middle, right? Maybe NiftyNei's in the middle, right? She's the one
don't call her a midwit. That's not very nice.
Well, I mean, I'm a tard, so what do you want? I can't say that on YouTube.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter.
There is some algebra in the class. I feel like I should point that out. I don't know. At least in the basic class.
So hold on. Hold on a second. I have to ask though. So do you get like, I'm assuming you, because you made a very important point. You said, you know, what do you want to come away with, you know, from this class, right? So essentially, you know, if we don't have at least a base in programming, we're most likely not going to take that much away. But let me ask you this. So from the VCs, I'm very curious, like, do you get like the deer caught in the headlights type of thing? Like what, if you don't mind, is there anything to share? Any interesting stories?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I feel like some of them suddenly get too busy and aren't able to finish the class.
Is there a test?
There's homework. I don't think any of them has done any of the homework. I don't think I've had a homework submitted by, you know, it's optional. Like, I'm kind of like a weird, in terms of educators go, like, maybe I should get better at this, but like, you know, if you don't do your homework.
This is the way to opt-in education is how
yeah, I don't care if you don't do your homework. I mean, you're gonna get as much out of it as you put into it, right? It's like kind of like proof of work stuff, right? Like if you don't do your homework, it's not gonna be a very valuable thing to have done. I don't know. I mean, learn stuff, but like.
So does everybody get the certificate at the end? Whether
no, if you don't do homework or not? If you don't do your homework, like, no, I'm like, this is like.
So is there a test?
Question: Is it called Base 58 because you love 58K gang? Is that what this is about? This is about you have a love for Dennis Satt and penis.
I don't know who that is, so yes, definitely. That's really, like, yeah, definitely for the thing I've never heard of. No,
you need to know who Dennis is, and you need to know who the 58K gang is, definitely. But
do you guys have a class I can sign up for? What's your school?
Oh yeah, for sure. There's a class. It's on Twitter.
So I think it was 2021. The fiat exchange rate kept oscillating over 58K, and so there were a whole bunch of memes and a crew that came out of this that said that, you know, like, you know how 1 Bitcoin will always equal 1 Bitcoin. They say 1 Bitcoin will always equal 58k. Like, it's a stable coin, and like its equilibrium price is 58k essentially. Yeah.
Are
But I
they
think
still
there's a whole bunch
offering
of good
that
memes.
deal? I've got some coin to sell them. No, I'm sorry.
You got some coin to sell them.
They're not like that.
It's
They're
like,
Bitcoiners.
so arbitrage, friends. I don't know.
Yeah, arbitrage. Okay.
Math thing. You wouldn't get it, Phil. No, sorry.
You're right. I would. You're right. I wouldn't. That's
actually how SBF made all his money. There was a 10% premium for Bitcoin in Japan, and so he was arbitraging it and made millions in months.
He hired somebody like me to do the accounting. That's what he did. He's like, let's find somebody who can't figure this out.
I've actually from back channels. I feel like I get a lot of my news through back channels. And one of my back channels was telling me that there's good reason to believe that like SBF is like a scammer, right? Like when he tells you things, like should you believe him? And apparently a friend of mine was saying that like someone seriously looked into this. I think they call it the kimchi premium, right? Like taking the coins to, I don't know, somewhere in Asia and selling it, wherever the kimchi is, maybe it's Japan. Being able to run this arbitrage.
Kimchi was Korean, but
yeah, maybe he was selling it in Korea then. I don't know. Anyways,
I don't know anything.
Basically, like the whole thing is they were like sneaking USB sticks onto planes is how you make this happen, right? Or something like that. Someone said at the volume he claimed to do it, it was like physically impossible. Like there was literally probably no way that he was able to like make as much money as he thought. So he probably didn't have as much money as he said he had, if that makes sense. Like him being like billions on this thing, it's like, well, he probably lying about that too. I mean, I don't know. Once the scammer, always a scammer. I don't know.
Okay, let me correct my statement. Supposedly, that's how SBF made all his money. Okay, happy now, Lisa?
I'm much better, thank you. Well, I appreciate the correction. Yeah.
We're honest journalists around here. We'll report it accurately and make corrections on the spot if needed.
Great, yeah.
And we appreciate you keeping Walton honest. You know, because it's you got to keep us honest. So
well, I think it's more just like SBF. No one can think SBF's that cool because he's not. You know, he wants you to think he's that cool, but like, let's set the record straight. He's a scammer, who, I don't know, like spent everyone's money. He like told you he was like buying Bitcoin. He wasn't buying Bitcoin. Like, what was it when they went to receivership or whatever? There was like 0 Bitcoin on their books, right? Like, everyone who thought they owned Bitcoin by holding it in FTX.
They had nothing.
Didn't. Yeah. It was paper Bitcoin. They were selling you paper Bitcoin. You were holding paper Bitcoin. Which is always fascinating because it's like, wow, like all those people were paying 58K for paper on FTX, you know? I don't know.
Nothing.
Yeah. Nothing.
Isn't that scary? It's pretty
I don't know if it's scary so much as like, man, self-custody is like the other thing, like this is totally off topic, whatever, but like talking to like, well, okay, so like Bitcoin, like I feel like the ecosystem of like, you know, not your keys, not your coins, all that on Bitcoin, like holding your own crypto is really fucking hard. I don't know if you guys have run into this. I'm like pretty smart and I find it like a little challenging to get into.
We talked about this last week. I went straight from exchange to multi-sig. And I've never done single sig because I think it's a shitcoin because there's no redundancy and I don't like it. So
it's a horrible fucking idea. It's a horrible fucking idea. Multi-sig is definitely where it's at. Like you should definitely have a multi-sig set up, whether you're the ones with all the keys or
especially now with things like Nunchuck, it's so easy to do, you know, NFC mobile first and you can connect it to your own node.
I fucking hate Nunchuck.
Like, you hate Nunchuck?
I really wanted to like it. Look, man, I really wanted to like it. I really wanted to like it. I like tried it. I was like,
this. We have to pause this. We have to censor this. This has to be censored. Okay.
Guys,
that's controversial.
It is controversial though.
People are okay, tell us why, because they recently did like a whole bunch of updates and they have beautiful coin control and all these things. Tell me why.
It's a gorgeous app. It's beautiful. It's like totally great. But I was trying to set up, so I run BtcPayServer, which we have like a corporate treasury, right? Like, you know, we have like I was trying to set up a multi-sig for a corporate treasury because we accept Bitcoin. We were doing the whole thing through BtcPayServer. Like, you know, we wanted a like multi-sig that you send it to that me and my co-founder would have to sign off on to spend, right? So I was trying to set up a nice, like I wanted what Nunchuck offers. I wanted like multi-sig that you could like do with like a chat, right? Like there's really nice integrated chat stuff, which is fucking sick. But like my attempts to set up the kind of wallet, I mean, I'm also really picky as a human. I have like very specific things I want in a wallet. I wanted a descriptor wallet that I could import different places. And I like wanted to be able to like set up my keys a certain way.
When did you do this? Because the update was literally like I swear like a month ago or something, and it's very extensive.
Yeah. Okay, maybe I should check it out. But this was like maybe
yeah.
8 months, 9 months ago. The problem I ran into
definitely
was
in that case, definitely check it out because there was a recent update. Maybe it's not a month ago. It was within the last month or two because I was clamoring for it for the coin control because like I thought it's such an easy wallet to do multi-sig that if you can
give them my email, like I ended up just doing it on Sparrow and like using Blue Wallet, like move stuff around, and it worked great. So
yeah, Nunchuck you can now connect to your own node using Tailscale.
That's cool. Tailscale is sick. Tailscale is so sick. You guys should get Tailscale to sponsor you because they're sick. No,
that's the second time I've heard of Tailscale in the last 24 hours. So obviously I
talked about it last week when I talked about Nunchuck and this.
No, but
this
I don't
update.
remember things, dude. I'm over 40. Okay. That's it. Like fair whatever's enough. Left in here, that's it, man. You know, like there's no more space. Now we're just emptying stuff out. You know, so I you know, you may have said it last week, but I'm only remembering it because I heard it twice in the last 24 hours.
It's repetition, yeah, totally. You know,
it's called recency bias.
Recency bias.
Get over the threshold of whatever, yeah. Yeah, but Tailscale's amazing. I use it for all my like home infra. I've got like
what is Tailscale for the?
I think it's like a VPN essentially.
Yeah, it's like well, I mean, for me, it's like a private network, private mesh network. So I run all my own servers, right? I own all my machines, like bare metal. I run a few things in the cloud, but most of all my stuff is like on computers that I own. And
can you give us examples of things that you're running on your servers?
Yeah, I run a Lightning node, I run a testnet node, I run only one. I think I have one Bitcoin node at this point. I've got a whole dev machine that's got like good for running. You know, when you run like test infrastructure, it takes a lot of compute power. So I have like a whole machine that's like got a lot of cores on it. So when I'm developing for Core Lightning, I can like build and test stuff pretty fast. I've got like this cute little, I don't know, I write software for Base58. So I just redid the whole website and I made a cute little mailer daemon that I shipped on my, I have a little mailer emailing service that I run.
We can tell that you solve problems because you have a whiteboard behind you. See, there's no whiteboard behind me. I'm not solving any problems.
If you're a listener or watcher of the show and this is your first interaction with Lisa, I can assure you that she's actually reasonably cool in person. She's just she's very very business formal and extra nerdy on the show, but in reality she's reasonably cool.
I was talking about running servers, not cool, Walton. I feel like there's some subtext here.
Hey, no, you were getting excited about email. That was the bit that was, but each to their own. Each to their own.
This is why we had to cut away to the whiteboard comment.
to be fair, we did introduce me as a protocol person. You know, like the
it's true.
Emails are like an OG protocol. Yeah. I do get really, so okay, this is why I work on Lightning specs though. I get really weirdly excited about messaging protocols or like.
Unfortunately for you, you're used to talking at this level, but we're like over here. So like that's why we're having the
this is
but we understand what you do and we appreciate it.
So yeah, we don't have a restrictive corporate sponsors that that will tell us to be super nice to the guests, and so we can be slightly cruel.
Yeah.
So I'm not allowed to say bad things about Nunchuck. I've learned. No, okay.
You can say bad things about Nunchuck, but
we just have to censor it all.
I'm going to disagree because Nunchuck's amazing.
We believe it's cool. Persistent,
and you're making it on 9-month-old information. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. Yeah. So it sounds like, wait, so are we gonna like pull up Nunchuck and walk through like setting up a multi-sig with Nifty? No.
we're not doing any of that.
Maybe next week.
Yeah, maybe next week. Okay, so look, I had to ask you because I noticed on your profile what is, and I didn't look at this, so I don't know, but I just love the name. What is chain fail? Substack. What is your Substack?
Oh,
That name sounds amazing. So
that is my I think I managed to buy the domain chain.fail or and so then I needed something to put on it. So I started doing my I started a shitcoin chronicles. So I was like trying to mine a bunch of shitcoins at home. I originally started off with like wanting to do like a home. So one of the reasons I moved to Texas, I was living in California. I bought a house and moved to Texas in 2019, is because I wanted to like run miners at home, but I couldn't do it in California because you pay like 30 cents a kilowatt hour, 34 cents a kilowatt hour on like stuff and whatever. So I had like these like old ass miners I just bought off eBay. Moved to Texas, started trying to buy like bigger miners to run at home, if that makes sense. So started getting into like the Alibaba, like no man's land, whatever. Ended up getting some like shitcoin miners were the ones that I figured out I could run at home, and like they like sip power. Like they don't take as much power as like a big thing does. Also, like I'm sure if you've tried running shit at home, like the payout on Bitcoin stuff is like, so like you have to run your miner for a long time before you can get like the payout cut off, if that makes sense. So it's like the possibility you could like run your machine for a year, hit a problem and never hit the mining cutoff. So you just have all expenses and no upside and like money locked in a pool you can't get paid out because you don't meet the minimum. Anyways, I did some research / ran some miners for a bit and realized that like the best way I could mine at home was by mining a shitcoin and then selling it for Bitcoin every day. So I'd like wake up and like exchange the payout I gotten from my shitcoin to Bitcoin like as soon as possible. Yeah, basically. I probably should have like automated it, but I'm a little bit of like a lazy basic bitch and never did that. Also, it's fun to like wake up and like smash by, exchange your like shitcoin for Bitcoin. It feels good. A little bit of a dopamine hit in the morning, get you out of bed. Anyways, yeah. So I started this thing that was gonna chronicle all my adventures trying to mine shitcoins. Then I got into like trying to mine Chia. I was like looking into like what I need to do what's it called, like the Arweave stuff. So I started this like thing that was like I was like struggling. So it's called Chain Fail because I was like trying to mine everything but Bitcoin. It was just all going horribly wrong. I was like kind of funny. Like also like I get into like I don't know, mishaps and stuff. Like I have this whole like funny thing of like DMing the like lady named Susie on Alibaba to try and like buy like thousands of dollars worth of miners to like convincing this lady. You're like, all right, I'm just gonna send you the Bitcoin. I guess I'll like maybe get the miner, maybe not. You're like, this isn't gonna work. Anyway, it works. It worked out great. I got some miners. They showed up later. Anyway, so that's what it started off as. Recently, it's just been my place to like when I see stuff that I think is kind of funny, I'll like go shit on shitcoin stuff. Yeah, so it's like my Substack.
Basically the same as REKT, which is our next section, actually.
Yeah, which is our next section. That's perfect. It totally leads into that. And guys, this wraps up our guest discussion with NiftyNei, and we are moving on over to REKT.
Up next, we have REKT, sponsored by Represent. Represent is a clothing brand owned by a Bitcoiner. They sponsor a whole bunch of cool Bitcoin things and a whole bunch of efforts that are about proof of work, or maybe even proof of tacos. Yeah, pretty awesome guys. They made these custom shirts that you can't buy, but maybe you'll be able to get something special soon. If you head over to representltd.com, you can find a whole bunch of goodies, and if you use the code PlebUnderground, you can get a discount on them all. Once again, that's representltd.com. Up first, a story about the lead developer of Graphene OS stepping down, essentially because he's being harassed. I think we're seeing, so for those of you that don't know, Graphene OS is a mobile operating system that you can essentially install on an Android type phone. And it has a bunch of privacy benefits to it. I'm not an expert on Graphene, but people talk very positively about Graphene. I think Calyx is another one, but these are essentially privacy prioritized mobile operating systems. An NVK here says, don't discard the spooks classics playbook to disrupt development and turn off good people from working on important privacy or security projects. So I think we've seen an increased you've seen a bunch of developers on Bitcoin privacy and security things stepping down or away from their position because they're being harassed in some way, shape, or form, whether that's a coordinated state-sponsored attack or something else. It's a real issue to me. What are your thoughts, guys?
Okay, I'll go first. So essentially, Graphene OS, if I'm not mistaken, there is another company. That I believe that they started off. It's a similar type of story, like between Samurai and Wasabi. Okay, so there's like one specific competitor to Graphene, if I understood correctly, and I'm totally forgetting their name. I'm thinking of Prism OS, but I think
is it not Calyx?
Is it Calyx?
I don't know. Like I've heard people talk about both of those two, but I hadn't heard of Prism. I don't know.
But either way, like essentially, I do think it's very interesting, right? Because you have this battle that goes on between Graphene and this competitor, which the name is escaping me. So please, in the YouTube comments, if you know who it is, put in the name. But like, it's strange that Samurai and Wasabi also write privacy tools, and you have this very strange type of bickering, right? They were one company once upon a time, and then they split up. So, and then it became Wasabi and Samurai, and now you just have these, essentially these social attacks on each other, and it just kind of muddies the waters, for anyone, especially, like, I'm sorry, but especially if you're a noob looking in, right? And you're seeing this, you're thinking to yourself, maybe
you get put off from looking into these privacy things, right? Because I mean. So,
and that's exactly the point, right? About the spooks, right? With Graphene OS, you see this guy stepping down, you're thinking, uh-oh, like what's going on? So I think it's kind of interesting and not a coincidence, maybe.
Not a coincidence in terms of like the other project or the spook stuff?
Not a coincidence in terms of like the, I guess you'd say the social story behind them. Right? Like, it's like, for me, I just find that even though there's no connection in my eyes, I find it strange that these two privacy tools are both kind of, how do we say this? Like, they're both in muddy waters, right?
They both have spooky vibes.
Yeah, exactly. Like, exactly. I can't explain it properly, but it's just like Samurai, right? Like Samurai Wasabi, you have these arguments all the time, and you just really don't know who to trust, and everybody's telling you should trust them. And then there's Graphene OS with their competitor, and it's, you see this tweet from NVK, so now you're thinking, well, maybe I can't trust Graphene. Like, that's kind of strange, right? Like, all of this around the privacy tools, like, there's a lot of controversy, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's controversial around the privacy tools. There you go. I finally said it. That's what I mean by it's not a coincidence, about the controversy.
I see. Okay, yeah.
We went full circle on that one. Figures out his point.
I don't know, man. Like, people who do privacy stuff are weirdos anyway. That sounds weird. That like they're just like a bunch of like maybe a little over paranoid freaks. Like, that's what makes them good at what they do. And so like, yeah, they've got like weird shit, man. Like, they do weird drama because these are like a bunch of weird dudes. Like, it's all dudes. Dudes are like super. Like, they're also like.
No, there's that Lola girl. She likes privacy.
She working on one of these projects?
I don't know. I think she just criticizes privacy of things like PlebNet.
Yeah, I feel like
partially rightfully so, but yeah. Again, how messages are communicated. There is no correct way, but maybe certain forms can have more meaningful impact if that's what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, I mean, maybe this is a false flag. Maybe he's like saying he's publicly going off the project, so people will leave him alone. He's going to come back as a nim. Like, I feel like we had this on Bitcoin, right? Like, there were a bunch of people that left because of the Craig Wright. I mean, like Craig Wright is like I'm like, the Craig Wright thing has been happening for a long time, but I like recently realized that this is like actually an attack on Bitcoin, if that makes sense. Maybe I'm slow, man. I'm like real slow. Takes a while for things to like filter through my email to reach me at my little server. No, but
even if you run your own email server, it still takes a long time.
Yeah,
You got to speed that. You got to speed up the time to live or something like that. I don't know.
Maybe that's what's going on. I don't know, guys. The Craig Wright mail took a while to reach me though. But yeah, man, like I don't know. So like I feel like in reaction to those reaction to that kind of thing, like we saw a lot of Bitcoin core devs like aren't really touching their project anymore, at least publicly that we know of, right? So I kind of wonder, like, okay, maybe he's actually like, I'm like a little pragmatic. I'm like, okay, maybe he's actually getting spotted, he's done, he's out, and that's what's happening. Maybe like MVK, I feel like is trying to say is like this, maybe the spooks are harassing him, so he's leaving. Maybe he's like,
I think so.
Yeah,
maybe he's like, but maybe he's like publicly saying he's like laying off and he's gonna like privately resurrect as a NIM. I don't know.
I mean, but he obviously you wouldn't say that. Like that's the point is you can't say that.
Oh yeah, no, you wouldn't. You can't say that. All you say in public is "I'm done. See you guys later."
Well, we can only assume the whys, right? But I think that you make a you make a good point, right? It's maybe he is being harassed by the spooks, and maybe that's what NVK was alluding to. So that is possible, and like that wouldn't mean that both of those outcomes aren't mutually exclusive, right? Like him coming back as a NIM, like, yeah, I mean, both of those reasons could easily be because, he's being threatened. Who knows? Like, really, who knows? Maybe it's a giant nothing burger, right? Like maybe we're just making this up and this guy's like super tired and just doesn't care anymore. And is like, I don't want to do this anymore. Just want to spend some time with the family. But I'll tell you this. Okay. I'll tell you this. In traditional markets, when CEOs step down to spend time with their family, like usually you should be selling that stock. Usually that's a red flag. Like that's probably about a month before they announce an irregularity in the numbers or something like that. So personally, like I know that you're not always supposed to take it as a red flag, but it's a red flag. So just putting that out there for everyone.
I mean, people don't get into the CEO role by like caring about spending time with their families, right?
What do you mean? They love everybody. That's why they're CEOs.
No, I think they're like, it's like, no, I think they're workaholic cells.
Of course they are.
Yeah, I don't think, yeah,
I totally agree.
They end up being CEOs so they can pay the nanny, that kind of thing. I don't know.
You know what? It's funny that you say that, and I don't mean to, because we're gonna totally go off topic. But the company that I used to work for, our CEO, and again, I'm not dissing these people. I'm talking about the stereotype. He looked like a used car salesman, right? Like he had like the big mustache, like and he just looked like this guy looked like he was gonna sell you a bunch of crap. He just had that look, And I mean, in my eyes, I was like, yeah, that's why they made him CEO, because he can sell the board. He can sell the board on the vision, right?
Phil,
like, think about it. It's kind of what they do. They sell the board on the vision. Anyways,
I've talked about this concept before. The idea of political quotient. It's essentially an ability to, influence and manipulate others. Separate from an emotional or intelligence quotient, political quotient, and that's what the fiat world selects for, and that's what these CEO types have. That they're not the smartest, they're not well liked, but they're good at getting other people to do things for them, and that's what currently the fiat world selects for. It doesn't select for intelligent people doing real work. It selects for the manipulators, because ultimately politicians at the top that aren't held accountable because they're able to use central banking to print the difference on what they spend versus what they honestly collect in taxes. I don't like that phrasing, but you know what I mean. Like the whole point is that it's being done behind closed doors, and if you have people at the top essentially that aren't accountable for what they do, then that sort of lack of accountability trickles down, and you have now society rife with these type of characters, all in all sorts of powerful positions, because in the fiat world, it's not about the work, it's about convincing others of the importance of the work that you plan to do, or some bullshit like that.
I think that you just definitely dropped some wisdom on us. That is what I think. It's probably the smartest comment out of all three of us.
Well, talking of people who aren't wise, can I talk about David Bailey for a minute, please?
Oh, REKT. Oh, this guy's REKT.
Yeah, like this has annoyed me.
More
So,
REKT than we know.
I'm a big fan of Bitcoin Magazine, the magazine itself, and I think David is tarnishing the name of it, and that's exactly what I tweeted at him this week, is saying that he's tarnishing the name of Bitcoin Magazine, that calls itself the most trusted voice in Bitcoin, with his shitcoinery. That he's essentially affinity scamming the kind of prestige of I think you can argue a positive kind of institution in Bitcoin with a whole bunch of stuff on the side. Predator here tweeting about why have they become pro ordinals. It turns out essentially that there's a hedge fund. Again, this isn't the first time David's done this, but a crypto hedge fund that are raising money for a whole bunch of tools for all of this shitcoinery. And David Bailey is one of the trustees of the fund. Our good friend Frito said, "Oh, we've known about this from Bitcoin Magazine for years." And David Bailey, the only comment is just a laughing. So like, it disappoints me. And I spent 15 minutes, maybe you could say, tearing into Mike Germano backstage at the conference about this kind of stuff. They just don't seem to care. They don't seem to get it. They think there's trade-offs. They seem to just think different rules apply to them, to be honest. To me, it's just the same sort of fiat bullshit of once you're sufficiently powerful, you can be a bit of a dick. Just because, oh, well, I've already done enough good, or my work is net positive, or whatever it is, but it's just bullshit.
I mean, Bitcoin Magazine was started by Vitalik, right? Like,
Yep.
I feel like anytime anyone, I mean, they do some good reporting. I don't really read the news all that much, so I assume they're doing.
No, less about the news, but I feel like, Shinobi's had a bunch of good pieces in there. There's been a bunch of, I don't know, I think good articles and good pieces of analysis. I'm trying to think, like Croesus had, a couple of good things in there. Gladstein, though I'm not a huge fan, has had some, good articles in there. There have been some very good articles from that, but I think the conference and all the other side ventures are very much using that branding on other things.
Well, they definitely started in Ordinals Marketplace, right? So they're definitely dealing Ordinals as a business line now. So, I mean, your incentives change when you go from being like a news reporting organization to like a over-the-counter trader of like rare JPEGs. I don't know.
You know what? I guess I can add this, right? If we zoom out and take a look at this, they got rid of, I think it was 18 employees in the
they cut 20% of their workforce, because David lost a bunch of money with 3AC and etc.
And the Bitcoin conference last year had approximately 35,000 attendees, whereas this time they had, if I'm not mistaken, it was 15,000 or it was 20,000.
Yeah, they claimed it was half the size, I think.
It was half the size, right? And I mean, if you were there, you saw like the venue was half the size at least. So look, in my eyes, there's no question that they're hurting. Now, along comes this fantastic narrative that's being built on Bitcoin, right? And look, it's going to help adoption, right? And that, to be perfectly honest, to the people that aren't really paying attention, right? To think that you need to have this kind of crap on something as secure and as worthwhile as Bitcoin. I mean, it's completely laughable, but hey, it doesn't matter because it creates, there's a lot of controversy around it. There's tons of noise. There's cheerleaders for it. There's a whole ecosystem that's essentially just popped up out of absolutely nowhere because it's, let's be honest, vaporware, right? Like, I mean, it's JPEGs that, again, it's just like NFTs. It's JPEGs you don't own. I mean, who cares? You have the ordinals, the inscriptions, you have the index. I mean, like it's all third-party tools. This is all crap. Okay, like that's all it is. This is just crap that's being built around Bitcoin, and it's being marketed as adoption, and it's being marketed in some cases as investments, right? Rare Satoshis, whatever. at the end of the day, it sells tickets, it sells ad space, right? Like this is, and that's like the nature of the beast for these people. So, I mean, sadly, right? Sadly, for some people, they end up learning, oh no, you know, like the Bitcoin publication doesn't really give a shit about Bitcoin. They don't really care about Bitcoin. They care more about their bottom line. So it's like, this is where you get into the murky waters, because to your point, Walton, they have awesome, you know, they put out some great material. I know there's one Bitcoiner out there.
They have a couple million
Amigos.
followers on Twitter. Like, it's not, you know, they have the point is there's a platform that
nothing.
there is a kind of trust in that, and it's being undermined. It's a shame. And
it is
what it is. I mean, ultimately, the corporate type media will ultimately, I don't know, I think there are kind of greedy types, and they will get suckered into certain incentives. Real pleb media it is very challenging to do, because you're not going to get the same sort of sponsors as if you cut yourself to corporate interests.
That's right. The marketing machine that involves vaporware. Anyways, guys, this wraps up the REKT segment, and we are moving on over to the Hopium. The Hopium is brought to you by Crypto Cloaks. Check them out, cryptocloaks.com. Also serving the EU, cryptocloaks.co.uk. Get yourself a 5% discount using the PlebUnderground code at cryptocloaks.com on awesome prints like the 3D printed grenade, which stores an open dime. Get the bigger one, and you can fit a signing device. That's at cryptocloaks.com, and use the code PlebUnderground for 5% off. For the Hopium, I've got something I think is interesting. I actually have two things. But we're going to start off with this one, okay? Breaking, right, from documenting Bitcoin. And I think that this is funny because, Walton, I think we might know something about Google that other people don't know, but this is interesting, right? Google Cloud is helping companies scale and build Bitcoin infrastructure. An innovation to come out of and I hate their wording, the block.
Yeah, I said this ages ago. I reported this months ago that Google invested in Voltage, or Alphabet invested in Voltage.
That's right. But of course, they're mentioning it again, right? Like, and again, this is kind of my point about it being Hopium, is that in my eyes, it's just
Google actually tweeting about it is the point, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like Google tweeting about it, right? But at the same time, it's like, what does that really mean? I mean, so what? Does it mean anything for Bitcoin? It doesn't. Like, basically, just think about it. What does the partnership parade do for the shitcoins, right? Like when the shitcoins announced that they're partnering with this company and that company and all, what does that do for the shitcoin? It does absolutely nothing. So why would it do anything for us for Bitcoin?
Phil,
right?
So Google heard that all of the Ethereum nodes run on AWS, and so they want some of that market share. And so they're hey, we'll invest in some node as a service type company. We can steal some business from Bezos.
I mean, is it really any? Oh, sorry.
No, Lisa. What are your thoughts on this? Like, do you care that Google's in the space and that like they're helping Voltage?
Okay, but I don't know where Voltage has been running, but assuming that they've been on Google Cloud the whole time, this isn't really a change. All this is a marketing change, right? Like, like, well, for all we know, Voltage might have been shipping all their node infra on Google Cloud already. All that's different now is if you like go to a Google platform, it'll maybe give you an option to run a Lightning node, and they'll send you through the Voltage thing, and you pay Voltage to spin it up and do all the images. And I mean, a lot of what Voltage does, and like a huge service that I think is very worth paying them, is they like troubleshoot problems for you, right? So it's really like, if you want to run a Lightning node and have like a tech support, one of the best Lightning support teams I think in the business, you just like pay Voltage to handle the front end of the node spin up for you, I guess. I mean, there's no reason you can't just like spin up a Google Cloud like instance with a node on it, right? Like, you still do that. Running it on Voltage is like literally, I think you're really just paying for like support.
I mean, it's for people who don't want to host their own stuff, right? I think that again,
but you could do it on Google and it's not hosting your own stuff, right? Maybe I'm like, I don't know.
I don't know. I just think that, again, right? It's just hopium. It's just a nothing burger hopium. And
Google's got your keys either way, right? Like for
well,
whatever money you put on that node, like it's gonna be in the Google platform or wherever.
so there's a few comments in the thread alluding to Chainalysis, right? Like somebody had to point out that, like, oh yeah, like you're just helping Chainalysis out. I guess that could be an argument.
One thing about all this hosted cloud stuff that I think no one's really, there's a lot of like incentive not to dig into this question, but like, does Google now have like money transmitter like responsibilities because they're hosting the keys on their machines? Like,
yeah, I think the answer is yes, and they're the only people that do, and so that now the banks can fight big tech, and Bitcoin
they've already
continue to grow as it does.
yeah,
That's a very good point.
I think these are like, whenever you run these services though, like I think these are like, I feel like yeah, maybe that's why they're like asking the Voltage to help them, is they want to like minimize that legal risk in terms of like actual custody of funds, right? But this is like, I don't know, this is like not your, like if you're not running it on hardware that you own, like when you have a Lightning node, it's like, yeah, that's like technically you're custodying the keys elsewhere.
Is
right?
it kind of like open node?
I mean, yeah, kind of like, yeah, actually.
So, but maybe it has more customization. I don't know. Maybe with Voltage you can do more kind of white labeling type.
Maybe they give you more wizards.
Theory, well, on Voltage you have all the responsibility for managing your ability to send and receive payments in terms of managing your channels, right? So like you have all the channel management is your responsibility, and funding and finding the Bitcoin to supply it to your node is all your responsibilities. The open node in theory takes care of all that.
Okay, so but that's good to know. So it's kind of a sliding scale of you can run your own hardware and your own software and do channel management, or you could use someone else's hardware, run Voltage's software and do your own channel management, or you can run someone else's hardware, software, and all that channel management happen within OpenNode.
Yeah, and I think like Voltage would argue that they can't log into your machine, but someone has the Google Cloud account, right? It's not you, it's Voltage, I think.
Administrator access sort of thing to the servers, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have that. You just have administrator access to your own instance. Like that's that's pretty much it, So, all right, we're gonna move on to the we're gonna wrap up with the last piece of Hopium. This is an old tweet. Haven't seen this in a long time. This was good on Alex for retweeting this. Still one of the greatest Bitcoin tweets of all time. That's right, from Zia Satter. So here we go. This is like, I mean, you can see right here, right? It's from 2019. There isn't a single goddamn thing that Bitcoin can do for retail that Apple Pay doesn't already do 10x better. And here is Zia. And he responded, I can't use Apple Pay, PayPal, Visa, MasterCard, or anything like them. I'm from Iran. I can use Bitcoin. What do you have to say? And see, that right there is the real promise. The real promise of Bitcoin is the fact that it is the money of enemies and it is completely permissionless. And that is the beauty of it. And there you go. This is, to me, like that's a fantastic way to, to end the Hopium on. So we're going to go around here and get people's final comments before we wrap up. Did you ever see that tweet before, Lisa?
I think I did see it earlier today. So yeah. Definitely a today tweet for sure. Yeah. Sorry.
Good one, right?
It's great. Yeah. It's really good. I mean, I think my comment would be like Lightning I think Lightning isn't at the Apple Pay user experience yet. And so like, I think we're going to get there and I'm excited about that future. So like someday we will have the Apple Pay experience from Iran with Bitcoin as like, kind of like something that I think that as someone who cares about like the payments experience, we're going to grow into. So, I mean, I see it inspirational from like both those sides, right? It's like, yeah, we can remake like the simplicity and beauty of like whatever Apple Pay is and make it global and accessible anywhere in the world, which is really cool.
Very well said. Walton, any final thoughts on this one?
Fuck shitcoins.com. Please like and subscribe. Thank you.
I agree. Very well said. Fuck shitcoins. All right, guys. That does it for us for this week. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to check us out on our audio-only platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. If you want to stream us sats, check us out on fountain.fm. You can stream us sats through Breeze. Walton, drum roll. How do we end this?
It's called Core Lightning, not Sea Lightning.
True. All right, guys. Catch you next week.